Welcome back to the Sit Down, you guys. Today we have a very special and sensitive show. We're going to be talking about the life and the impact of our fallen brother, Kevin Samuels.
A legend in the game.
So if you're watching this right now, I'm pretty sure like everybody else, that the great Kevin Samuels has passed over and passed on. We want to send condolences to his friends and his family and everything. And we're just going to briefly talk about, a lot of the positive things that he brought to the community and the influence he had on our lives and the lives of many other and everything. So, we're going to get right into it without further ado.
Kevin Samuels was extremely influential in the Black community. And one of the things that I've noticed and a lot of other people and men gravitated to was he was one of the first of his kind to ever have a conversation with Black women and speak the truth to them, allowing them to see some of the delusion in their ways. A lot of women have an elevated sense of self, and he brought them down to reality and taught a lot of them about how they could do better in order to bring families together. He preached marriage a lot. He really tried to preach about marriage and get people on the same page. But seeing a man actually have a conversation with women and to tell them directly without missing a beat, without sugarcoating it, without dumbing it down, it inspired a lot of men to see a man on his masculine, a man that was unwavering, a man that didn't tolerate no bullshit. He wasn't playing around with no bullshit, and he was very direct. And a lot of people try to say negative things about him as if he was rude or disrespectful, but really, those people were just afraid of the truth. A lot of people don't like to hear the truth about themselves. They are afraid of the truth, and sometimes they see truth as disrespect when really they don't want to take a look in the mirror and they don't want to look at themselves.
It's a great loss that we have to endure simply because Kevin he had just this intrinsic value. He was so unique to the space that we have in regards to what we needed and what we have today for men. And, Kevin was about something that was different. He understood the projection of yourself and your image and protecting that. He understood the representation that was needed for men, primarily Black men, because he is a Black man. And he understood in the grand scheme of things, in terms of his goal for the Black community, what was the problem and what needed to be done. And he believed in standing on his square, but he was committed to making a difference just one conversation at a time. And he literally had the fortitude to do something that so much of us was not willing to do. But more than anything, he gave us as Black men, because there's a lot of Black men now who have been raised without fathers. And some of them have fathers, but maybe they're not really a real good man figure. When we get into why Q and I really do this is because both of us have realized that when it comes to dealing with fathers and parents, that it's more than just one father or one dad. We both have a collection of mentors that helped refine the level of men that we are today. And that's what's needed to help you really round out the man you are trying to be and become for tomorrow. And Kevin was a really huge part of that because he represented that uncle, that, godfather, that father, that male mentor that a lot of our community needed. He walked confidently. He spoke confidently. He knew what he was talking about. His intelligence was off the Richter. He was so well studied and well versed in a variety of subjects, but he was also able to bring that in a balance with his intuition with what needed to be had for the human experience and how humans interact with each other. Now, people might say his methods were questionable, but that's because everybody else is just too fucking soft these days. I'm just going to call it how it is because both of us come from industries in terms of dealing with music and entertainment and in acting and television where you go in the office and people will tell you your shit sucks. And you know what? You can't cry about it. You can't get upset and do all those others. They're going to say, shut the fuck up and get out of my office.
Look at the NFL. Look how the NFL trains their football players. Look how the Army trains men. They're all in your face. You're a maggot.
Yeah.
You're disgusting. Get your ass up. Get that bed fucking together.
Like you just said, in the NFL and in the NBA, look, nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. They will cut you, and there's somebody else in the D League or somebody else just waiting to get that space, and nobody cares how you feel about it. You have to do and learn what's necessary for you to get to the next level. So you need to be able to understand your emotions, internalize it, and be able to look at yourself in the mirror and see what other people are seeing that they have to give you the type of criticism and critique that they're giving you. And Kevin was one who not only understood that about himself, but he understood that there was a need for direct and harsh criticism because true love is somebody telling you the truth and not pulling any punches back. And anybody who's a real man or a real woman and who has the ability to self-reflect, they know this because you've had to deal with it yourself before. But we live in a society now where everybody wants to coddle emotions and everybody wants to virtue signal and all of these other particular things. And Kevin did not cater to that. So as a result of it, people tend to like to demonize, mischaracterize, and mislabel him these names they like to use to describe him, which by definition do not fit exactly who he is and what he represented or what he stood for. They're just people who, much like Q said, these people are low in character, and a lot of people are okay with where they are at in life, and they do not want to be called out or they don't want to have to be forced to elevate. The inner critic within them, it hurts too much to look at the mirror and hold themselves accountable because it's a reflection of their failure within their marriages, within their parenting, within their society. And Kevin called them out and gave the uncomfortable truths.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And something that Kevin also did that a lot of black men, you didn't see it growing up, is the way he handled a lot of women on his show, allowing them to basically speak and show their true nature and who they really were. He allowed women to hang themselves with their own words. This guy was on the money. A lot of black men, they haven't really seen a black man do stuff like that growing up, you know? There's a lot of men who haven't even seen their father correct their mother that way growing up. So that was really impactful to see somebody do it with such class, to see somebody do it in a nice suit with top tier cologne and take his time to allow these women to see their error. They didn't want to admit that they were wrong. You can see the stubbornness of some women. You can see other women who would quickly come to terms and agree. This also brought in other women who watched the situation, as well as other men who would see traits and things in certain women that they can tell was wrong. It exposed a lot. And a lot of men have deep respect for Kevin Samuels for being brave enough and stepping forward to do something that hasn't really been shown like that to black men. I'm specifically highlighting black men, especially to the black women. Before he stepped on, you couldn't say anything to them or nobody would say anything. She's right. She's the end all be all. She's a queen, even though she has no king. There's a bunch of things that were off that we as men could see. We could see that, and a lot of other men could, but there are a lot of men who couldn't. There are a lot of men who were afraid to say it and step forward due to shaming or what was going to happen to them in their family or their workplace. And Kevin stepped forward and he checked women with elegance and class. And that's something I really respect about him. And that's something that a lot of men needed to see. Because like I said, a lot of black men didn't even see their father check their mother that way growing up in homes. They saw the opposite way around, the mother checking the man. So definitely a huge turning point and an important moment in my life to come across Kevin Samuels and his works.
Yeah, he was the father that everybody needed, not wanted. He didn't tell you what you wanted to hear. He didn't coddle you. He was just as harsh and hard, if not harder, on us men than he was on the women. And that never gets told, spoken about, highlighted. It's always some false narrative that he talks and disrespects women, and it's just, no, he talked like that to everybody. So we're going to stop with the bullshit narratives. We're going to stop with the falsifying accounts, and we're going to stop with the inflating of this man's character that did not happen from people who stand to gain by trying to minimize his legacy and trying to also cash in on feminism and other things by minimizing who he was and what he ultimately was doing, especially since they didn't even view and watch a whole episode of his content. He clearly stood for unity, and he stood for reunifying and reestablishing the Black community and the Black family. That's who he was. So men, I urge you really tough, if you haven't listened to Kevin Samuels, go and watch his content. Listen to everything. Listen to his monologue. Listen to his ideas. Listen to how his understanding of history and knowing from what happened at this particular point of view and how it's all really added up to the point and playing out right now and everything. But I just want you to understand that the way you take care of yourself, the way you handle yourself, and the way you should be striving to be as a man and what your masculinity is and should represent, he gave you the blueprint. He gave you the new blueprint for what that is. You don't have to be a thug. You don't have to be a gang member. You don't have to have a face full of tattoos. You don't have to be a rapper. You don't have to have a bunch of dreads. You can be as clean as you want to be, and you can be who and however you want to be. You can be a nerd. You can be whoever you are and still be masculine. It is not a look. It is a characteristic and a trait and an energy that you project. So I just want to say, we wrapping it up for the sit down. I want to say thank you, Kevin Samuels, for all you did for us and what you did for this world. You will never be forgotten. Long live the king.
Appreciate you, man. Rest in peace.
R.I.P.